Hey there. Tonight, we're traveling back to a time you won't find in your history textbooks. A time when war wasn't the chaotic bloodbath you imagine. No, it was scheduled, like a doctor's appointment, with rules, with breaks for lunch, with referees. You're about to step into the sandals of someone who lived through this bizarre reality. Someone who woke up knowing exactly which day they'd fight, which hour they'd potentially die, and when they'd stop for refreshments. Welcome to ancient warfare as you've never imagined it. Before you drift off tonight, I want you to know where you are, when you are, and what's about to happen. Drop a comment below telling me which ancient civilization fascinates you most, or what time period keeps you up at night wondering. So, dim the lights, get comfortable, pull those blankets a little tighter. Because tonight you're not just learning history, you're living it. You're a warrior in a world where battles had tea breaks, where enemies shook hands before trying to kill each other, and where dying was done politely. Let's begin your journey.
You wake before dawn in your stone dwelling, the morning air sharp against your skin. You are Theron, a hoplite warrior of Athens, and today is the scheduled day. The 6th day after the new moon, precisely as agreed upon 3 weeks ago, when both armies met at the sacred boundary stone. Your hands tremble slightly as you reach for the olive oil. Not from fear exactly, but from the strange formality of it all. You know that in exactly 4 hours, at the moment when the sun clears the eastern ridge, you will form ranks with 3,000 other men. You will face the Theban army across a predetermined field. The same field used for the past century of scheduled conflicts. Your father fought there. His father before him, the same patch of earth, sanctified by priests, measured by officials, agreed upon by both city-states as the proper place for organized killing. You methodically oil your limbs, each movement a ritual passed down through generations. Your wife Chloe prepares barley bread and watered wine in silence, her face carefully neutral. She's done this 12 times before. She knows the schedule as well as you do. Outside you hear other men stirring, the scrape of bronze being polished, the low murmur of prayers to Ares. Everything is proceeding exactly as planned, as civilized. As bizarre as warfare has always been in your world. You dress in your undergarments, the linen chiton already slightly yellowed with old sweat and wear. This is your battle chiton, used only for scheduled wars. Chloe has washed it 13 times now, and each washing has made it softer, almost comfortable against your skin. You wonder if that's ironic. Armor meant for killing, becoming more gentle with use. The bronze greaves come next, strapped carefully around your shins. They're perfectly fitted to your legs, made by the same smith who made your father's greaves. The bronze is polished to a mirror shine, not for vanity, but because tradition demands it. Both armies must arrive looking their best, as if warfare were a religious festival, which, in many ways, it is. Your cuirass comes next. The heavy bronze chest plate that has saved your life twice in previous scheduled engagements. You remember exactly when and where each dent was made. The first, a spear thrust from a Corinthian mercenary 4 years ago during the autumn battle. The second, a sword strike deflected during the spring engagement 2 years past. You keep them undented as reminders. The weight of the armor settles onto your shoulders like an old friend. Heavy, yes, but also familiar. You've trained in this weight since you were 15. Your body has molded itself to these burdens. Outside, the sky is lightening to purple, then pink. Time is moving forward with its usual indifference to human arrangements. Your shield, the hoplon, leans against the wall where you left it yesterday after its final polishing. It's nearly 3 feet across, made of wood and bronze, heavy enough that your left arm already aches in anticipation of carrying it. The inside is lined with leather, with 2 grips, one for your forearm, one for your hand. You've carved small marks on the inner rim, one for each scheduled battle you've survived. 13 marks. Today will be the 14th, if you survive. If. That's always the question, isn't it? Even in scheduled warfare, even with all the rules and the priests and the predetermined battlefield, men still die. You've seen friends fall, their bodies retrieved during the agreed-upon afternoon retrieval period, when both armies cease hostilities to collect their dead and wounded. It's all very civilized, very organized, very bizarre. You hoist the shield onto your left arm, feeling its substantial weight settle into place. Your helmet sits on the small table, the Corinthian style, with its distinctive nose guard and cheek plates. You pick it up, feeling the cool bronze, seeing your distorted reflection in its polished surface. Once you put this on, you become anonymous, just another bronze-covered figure in the phalanx. The individual disappears. The warrior remains. Outside, you hear the first horn blow. The assembly signal. In 2 hours, the battle begins. You have time for one final meal, one final prayer, one final moment of being simply Theron, the man, before becoming Theron, the weapon.
Chloe approaches you with the spear. It's 9 feet long, made of ash wood with a bronze spearhead and a bronze spike at the base. You take it from her hands, feeling its perfect balance. You've practiced with this specific spear for 7 years. Every nick in the wood, every slight discoloration, every tiny imperfection is familiar to your hands. This spear is as much a part of you as your own fingers. She doesn't speak, but her eyes say everything. Come back. Be careful. I'll be waiting. You want to tell her that being careful is impossible when you're locked shoulder to shoulder with other men, pushing forward in a bronze wall against another bronze wall, spears thrusting over the rim of your shield into the faces of enemies you don't know and don't hate. But you simply nod. What else can you do? This is your role. This is what the city requires. The battle was scheduled. Both sides agreed. The priests sanctified it. The gods supposedly approve. Who are you to argue with such organized madness? You lean the spear against your shoulder and pull Chloe close with your right arm, the shield on your left making the embrace awkward and metallic. She feels small against all this bronze, fragile, real. You smell the olive oil in her hair, the wool of her chiton, the familiar scent of your home. Then you release her, step back, and become what you must become. You step out into the street and immediately join the flow of bronze-clad men moving toward the assembly point. Every 6th day after every new moon, this same scene repeats. Hundreds of men from dozens of streets, converging like streams flowing to a river. The sound is remarkable. The rhythmic thud of greaves against ground, the scrape of bronze on bronze, the rustling of horsehair plumes, the occasional clatter when someone's spear accidentally strikes another's shield. But there's little talk. What is there to say? You've all been here before. You all know what comes next. The sun is higher now, painting the eastern sky in shades of copper and gold. Beautiful, you think absently. A beautiful morning for scheduled violence. You recognize men from your unit,
Philippos with the limp from last year's scheduled engagement, Alexandros who lost 2 fingers in the autumn battle but still reports for duty, Demetrios whose brother was killed 2 years ago during the afternoon push. They nod to you. You nod back. This silent communication says more than words could. The assembly point is the sacred grove of Athena, just outside the city walls. It's always been the gathering place for scheduled wars. The priests are already there, preparing the sacrifices, saying the prayers, making sure everything is done properly. Because even organized killing requires divine approval. Even scheduled death needs to be sanctified. The crowd of warriors grows thicker as you approach. The sacred grove surrounds you now with ancient olive trees, their gnarled trunks twisted by centuries of growth. This place has witnessed 100 scheduled battles, maybe more. The smell of incense mixes with the scent of olive wood and the sharp tang of bronze and male sweat. 3 priests in white robes move among the assembled warriors, sprinkling blessed water from silver bowls. They chant prayers to Athena for wisdom in battle, to Ares for strength in combat, to Zeus for victory if it be his will. You bow your head as the water touches you, cool droplets running down your bronze cuirass. The ritual is comforting in its familiarity. You've done this 13 times before. The priests finish their rounds and move to the central altar, where a white bull waits, flower garlands around its horns. The animal seems calm, unaware. You envy it that ignorance. The chief priest raises his bronze knife, speaks the final prayer, and performs the sacrifice with practiced efficiency. Blood darkens the stone altar. The priests examine the organs, reading the will of the gods in the pattern of a liver, the color of lungs. After several moments, the chief priest turns to the assembled warriors and nods. The signs are favorable. The gods approve of today's scheduled battle. Relief exhales, sharply ripples through the crowd, though you find it absurd. If the signs had been unfavorable, would both armies simply go home? Reschedule for next month? The whole thing feels like theatre, elaborate ceremony masking the simple truth that today, some of you will die.
The war leader, Strategos Nikias, steps onto a raised stone platform. He's 50 years old, grey-bearded, with scars that map out a lifetime of scheduled battles. He's survived more of these engagements than anyone in Athens, 37 in total. That's why he leads. Not because he's the best fighter, but because he's the best survivor. He understands the peculiar rules of scheduled warfare better than anyone. Warriors of Athens, he begins, his voice carrying across the grove. Today we face Thebes in the agreed manner, on the agreed field, at the agreed hour. Remember your training. Remember your oaths. Remember that civilization itself depends on maintaining these traditions. You listen, but also don't listen. You've heard variations of this speech a dozen times. The words change slightly, but the meaning remains constant. Follow the rules. Maintain formation. Fight honorably. Die properly if you must. Nikias continues, outlining the schedule for today's battle. First engagement at sunrise, 2 hours of combat, then a mid-morning break for water and rest. Second engagement at midday, 3 hours of combat, then the afternoon retrieval period, where both sides collect their dead and wounded without interference. If either side gains decisive advantage before the scheduled breaks, victory is declared and combat ceases immediately. It's all very organized, very sensible, completely insane. When Nikias finishes, the warriors give the traditional cry, beating spear shafts against shield rims in rhythmic unison. The sound echoes through the grove like thunder. The army moves out as a single bronze organism, 3,000 men marching in perfect rhythm. You're positioned in the third rank of your company, which means you're unlikely to see direct combat in the initial push, unless the front ranks collapse. This is both relief and shame. Relief because the front rank dies at twice the rate of other ranks. Shame because glory belongs to those who fight face to face with the enemy. But this is where you're assigned, and you march without complaint. The road to the battlefield is well worn, used exclusively for these scheduled engagements. It's wide enough for the phalanx to march 8 men across. You can see where previous armies have walked, the ground compressed by thousands of bronze-shod feet over decades. Farmers don't plant near this road. It belongs to war. The sun climbs higher, warming your bronze armor, and soon you're sweating inside your equipment. The weight of armor that seemed bearable in the cool morning now feels oppressive. Your shield arm aches. Your feet hurt. The helmet under your arm seems heavier with each step, and you haven't even reached the battlefield yet. This is the reality that the poems never mention. War is exhausting before it even begins. Men don't collapse from wounds alone. They collapse from carrying bronze in the Greek summer sun. Around you, you hear the occasional of discomfort. Someone quietly cursing their greaves that rub wrong.
You crest a low hill and see the battlefield spread below. It's a broad, flat valley, perhaps half a mile across, bordered by gentle slopes on all sides. Natural amphitheatre for scheduled violence. The grass has been trampled by previous battles until it's mostly bare earth now. On the far side of the valley, you see the Theban army, a mirror image of your own force. Bronze ranks glinting in the sunlight, spears raised like a forest of metal, approximately equal numbers as the treaty requires. Both armies must field comparable forces for the battle to be considered legitimate. Fight fairly, or don't fight at all. The strategos raises his hand, and your army halts. Now comes the period of formal challenges and final preparations. Representatives from both sides walk to the center of the field, meet at the ancient boundary stone that marks neutral ground. They confirm that both armies are present and ready. They verify that the scheduled time has arrived. They ensure all rules have been followed. It's like watching bureaucrats negotiate a trade agreement, except the commodity is death. You lower your shield to the ground, giving your arm a rest. Around you, others do the same. Some men pray quietly. Others check their equipment one more time. A few joke nervously. One man vomits behind his shield, the sound disgusting but familiar. Fear expresses itself in many ways. The sun is almost directly overhead now. Nearly time. The representatives return to their respective armies. The strategos nods. The moment has come. Helmets on! The command echoes down the ranks. You lift your Corinthian helmet and settle it onto your head. The world immediately narrows. Your vision is now restricted to a narrow horizontal slit. Your hearing becomes muffled. Your own breathing suddenly loud inside the bronze shell. You feel claustrophobic and powerful at the same time. The helmet transforms you from individual to instrument, from Theron the man to Theron the weapon. Form the phalanx! The command comes, and your body responds from years of training. You step forward into position, so close to the man in front that your shield actually touches his back. The man behind you steps forward until his shield touches your back. Side by side, front to back, you become part of something larger than yourself. 3,000 men compressed into a solid bronze wall, 8 men deep. The famous Greek phalanx. Your spear extends over the shoulder of the man in front of you, the point aimed at where enemy faces will soon appear. You can smell the fear sweat of the man pressed against you. You can hear his rapid breathing. You can feel the trembling of the man behind you, transmitted through his shield into your back. You're no longer individuals. You're a single organism, with thousands of legs and hundreds of bronze-tipped teeth. The war horn sounds. Both armies begin moving forward simultaneously, as scheduled. It's not a charge, not yet. It's a walk, a slow, measured advance, maintaining formation integrity. The discipline required is extraordinary. Every man must move at exactly the same pace, must resist the urge to rush forward or hang back. The phalanx only works if it stays together. Break formation, and you break the entire system. Your world has shrunk to what you can see through your helmet's eye slit. The back of the man in front, a narrow view of the enemy approaching from across the field. Your feet move automatically, muscle memory taking over. Left foot forward, plant. Right foot forward, plant. Keep your shield up, keep your spear ready. Maintain contact with the man beside you. The sound inside your helmet is deafening. Your own breathing, loud and rapid. The thud of feet, the scrape of bronze, the creaking of leather, the grunts of exertion. 30 seconds of walking. 1 minute. 2 minutes. The distance closes. You can start to see individual enemy warriors now, their bronze helmets catching the sun, their spear points aimed at you. They look identical to your own men. They probably are identical, really. Just citizens from another city-state, following the same rules, fighting the same scheduled battle. 3 minutes. The enemy formation is so close now. 20 paces. 15. 10. Someone in the front rank screams a war cry, and the sound ripples backward through your formation.
The two phalanxes collide with a sound you'll never forget. A massive crash of bronze on bronze, wood on wood, human flesh compressed between metal surfaces. The impact travels through your shield, up your arm, into your shoulder, through your entire body. You stumble, but the men behind you prevent any backward movement. You're locked in place now, part of a massive pushing contest. Thousands of pounds of human weight and bronze armor grinding against thousands of pounds of enemy weight and bronze armor. This is the orthismos, the push. This is where scheduled battles are won or lost, not by individual skill with a sword, not by clever tactics, but by pure collective force. You push with your shield. The man behind you pushes against your back. The man behind him pushes into both of you. Hundreds of men creating a human ram, trying to drive the enemy backward. You can't see anything now except bronze and chaos. Spears thrust blindly over shields, seeking any exposed flesh. Men scream in your helmet-muffled hearing. You smell blood, sweat, fear, bronze, and something else you can't identify, maybe death itself. Someone in the front rank goes down, and you feel the formation shift slightly as men step over or on the body. You push harder. Your legs burn. Your shield arm is numb. Spear points flash past your vision. Bronze edges scrape against your helmet. This close, warfare becomes purely physical. Push, breathe, survive. Push, breathe, survive. Time loses meaning in the orthismos. Seconds feel like hours. Minutes feel like days. You push and stab and breathe and push and stab and breathe until it becomes a mindless rhythm. Your body takes over completely, operating on training and instinct. Your conscious mind retreats, somewhere deep inside, watching the violence from a safe distance. This is how you survive the horror, by not being fully present for it. A spear point suddenly punches through the gap between your shield and the man beside you. You twist, desperately, feeling it scrape across your cuirass, scoring a deep groove in the bronze but not penetrating. 1 inch to the left and it would have killed you. 1 inch. The difference between life and death, schedule and chaos, measured in the width of a finger. You counterthrust blindly, feeling your spear hit something solid, then soft, then resistance. You pull it back,
and it comes away dark and wet. You've wounded or killed someone. You don't know who. You'll never know who. They were just bronze and meat on the other side of your spear point. The push continues. Your formation is holding, neither gaining ground nor losing it. Stalemate. This is actually the ideal outcome in scheduled warfare. Both sides fight honorably. Both sides demonstrate courage. Neither side is humiliated by rapid defeat. Eventually, the scheduled break will come, and everyone can rest, collect the wounded, and prepare for the afternoon engagement. The horn sounds. 3 long blasts. The first scheduled break. Both armies disengage immediately, as if a spell has been broken. Men don't have to be ordered to step back. They do it instinctively, desperate for space, air, relief from the suffocating pressure. Your phalanx breaks apart into individual men again. You stumble backward, legs shaking, and rip your helmet off. The cool air hits your face like a blessing. You, gulping oxygen, your vision swimming. Around you, men are doing the same. Some are vomiting, some are weeping, some are laughing with the hysteria of survival. You look down at yourself and realize you're covered in blood, but a quick self-inventory reveals no serious wounds. The gouge in your cuirass saved you. 1 inch, always 1 inch. You drop to your knees, setting your shield down, leaning on your spear. Your entire body shakes with exhaustion and fading adrenaline. Someone hands you a water skin and you drink desperately, water spilling down your chin, mixing with blood and sweat. The battlefield now has a gap down the center where the 2 phalanxes separated. In that gap lie bodies. Not many. Scheduled warfare is rarely as deadly as chaotic warfare, but enough. Maybe 30 men from both sides combined. You recognize one of them, Philippos, the man who had limped from last year's battle. He won't limp anymore. He won't do anything anymore. During the break, both sides are allowed to approach and retrieve their wounded and dead without interference. It's civilized. It's a rule everyone respects.
The break lasts exactly 1 hour as scheduled. Not a minute more, not a minute less. Both armies have agreed to this timing. Both honor it. You use the time to rest, drink, and check your equipment. The gouge in your cuirass is deep, but the metal held. You'll get it repaired after the battle, assuming you survive the afternoon engagement. Some men eat during breaks, but you can't imagine putting food in your stomach right now. Water is enough. Water is everything. You watch as teams from both sides move among the bodies in the center ground. They're efficient and respectful, carrying the dead back to their respective armies on shields used as stretchers. The wounded are prioritized, those who might survive with immediate attention. The dead can wait. This practical mercy is one of the few genuinely civilized aspects of scheduled warfare. Across the gap, you can see the Theban army resting just as you are. They're removing helmets, drinking water, tending wounds. They look exactly like your own men. Of course they do. They are your own men, just born in a different city-state. You share the same language, the same gods, the same traditions of scheduled combat. Under other circumstances, you might be trading with them, not trying to kill them. But the cities scheduled a battle. Priests approved. Treaties were signed. And so here you are. The hour passes far too quickly. The horn sounds again. 1 blast. 15 minutes until the second engagement. Time to prepare again. Helmets go back on. The world narrows again. Your skull still aches from the weight and pressure of the bronze. But you have no choice. The phalanx reforms with mechanical precision, every man knowing his position without being told. Muscle memory and training override exhaustion. You're back in the 3rd rank, shield pressed against the back of the man in front, feeling the shield of the man behind pressing into your back. The weight and warmth of bodies surrounding you, the smell of blood and bronze. The second engagement is scheduled for 3 hours, longer than the first. This is where battles are typically decided,
whether cumulative exhaustion breaks one side or the other. The horn sounds. Forward. Left foot, right foot, maintaining formation. The enemy approaches again, mirror image of your own advance. You realize with dull certainty that you could die in the next 3 hours. The first engagement was survival, but the second engagement is when the real dying happens. Men's strength fails. Formation discipline breaks. Gaps appear where opportunistic spears find soft flesh. The scheduled battle becomes slightly less scheduled, slightly more chaotic. The distance closes. 10 paces. 5. The crash of collision. The immediate pressure of the othismos renewed. Your legs, already exhausted, must now support and push for 3 more hours. 3 hours of this grinding, suffocating, bronze-enclosed violence. You push, you thrust, you breathe. Again, again, always again. Time stops having meaning.
The second collision is somehow worse than the first because your body already knows what's coming. There's no adrenaline to cushion the impact, no nervous energy to fuel the first desperate minutes. Just exhausted flesh and failing muscles forced to perform the same brutal work again. You push into the othismos with legs that shake and tremble. Your shield arm, which was merely tired before, now screams with pain. The weight of the hoplon becomes almost unbearable. You consider dropping it, but that would expose the man beside you, would break the formation, would violate every principle of scheduled warfare. So you hold it, even as your muscles tear themselves apart with effort. Spears thrust overhead. Men fall. The grinding continues. You lose track of time completely, operating in a fugue state between consciousness and unconsciousness. You might be standing, you might be moving, you might be fighting. Your body does these things without your awareness. Somewhere in the timeless violence, something changes. The enemy pressure lessens slightly. Your formation pushes forward a few feet, then a few more. The Thebans are weakening, their exhaustion exceeding yours by some small margin. The entire phalanx surges forward, sensing victory. Men in the front ranks press harder. The enemy formation begins to come apart at the edges. Individual Theban warriors break and run, then more, then entire sections. Scheduled warfare has a strange rule. Once a rout begins, the retreating side is given safe passage. No pursuit, no slaughter of the fleeing. They fought honorably. They're allowed to leave honorably. The horn sounds. Victory. The battle is over. The Thebans have conceded the field, retreating in relatively good order back toward their city. Your phalanx doesn't pursue. That's not how scheduled warfare works. You've won by pushing them from the field. That's sufficient. The formation dissolves into individual men again, and this time when you remove your helmet, you actually collapse. Your legs simply give out, unable to support your weight any longer. You fall to your knees, then to your side, lying in the dirt of the battlefield, still wearing your bronze cuirass and greaves. You don't care. You can't care. Your body has nothing left. Around you, men are in similar states. Some are laughing with exhausted relief. Some are crying. Some are just lying still, staring at the sky, processing survival. Someone pours water over your head, and you open your mouth, catching some, letting the rest run down your face and neck. It's the most beautiful sensation you've ever experienced. The battle lasted approximately 4 hours of actual combat, split into 2 engagements with a 1-hour break. 4 hours that felt like 4 years. You survived. That's the only thing that matters. You survived another scheduled battle. The strategos is already organizing the victory rites, the proper honors to the gods, the formal acknowledgement of Theban courage in defeat. Everything must be done correctly.
Even winning has rules. Even survival requires proper ceremony. But you're beyond caring about ceremony. You just lie in the dirt, breathing, existing, being alive.
Eventually, you find the strength to sit up. Your body protests every movement, muscles locked into painful cramps from hours of sustained combat. You work methodically to remove your armor piece by piece. The greaves first, unlacing them with fingers that barely function. Then the cuirass, which requires help from another warrior because your arms won't cooperate. Finally free of the bronze weight, you feel simultaneously lighter and heavier. Lighter physically, heavier spiritually. The afternoon retrieval period has begun in earnest. Teams move across the battlefield, collecting the dead, helping the wounded, cataloguing equipment. The dead from both sides will be returned to their respective cities for proper burial. The wounded will be treated according to ancient medical knowledge, which means some will survive and many won't. You count the Athenian dead as bodies are lined up. 43 men. Not terrible for a scheduled battle. Some engagements see hundreds dead. The Thebans probably lost similar numbers. 90 men total, give or take, dead in a battle that was scheduled 3 weeks in advance, fought according to agreed rules, supervised by priests, and accepted by both sides as legitimate. You wonder, not for the first time, whether this entire system is brilliant or insane. Maybe both. Maybe neither. Maybe it's just how civilized people conduct warfare, when they share culture, language, and gods. You look at Philippos's body, still lying where he fell in the first engagement. His eyes are open, staring at nothing. You close them gently, whispering the traditional prayer for the dead. The army begins the march back to Athens in the late afternoon. Victory marches are supposed to be triumphant, celebratory affairs. This one is simply exhausted men stumbling home, carrying their dead, supporting their wounded. You walk without your armor, having given it to cart attendants who follow the army for this purpose. Walking unencumbered feels strange after hours of bronze weight. You feel naked, vulnerable, but also grateful for every step that doesn't require carrying 40 pounds of metal. The afternoon sun is gentler than the midday sun that beat down during combat, but you're still miserably thirsty, despite drinking constantly. Combat dehydration is brutal and persistent. Your body has nothing left to sweat, but it tries anyway, leaving you feeling dried out from the inside. The man walking beside you is Alexandros, the one missing 2 fingers from previous scheduled combat. "You fought well, Theron," he says quietly. You nod, but don't respond. What is there to say? You survived. Others didn't. That's all warfare ever amounts to. Some survive, others don't, and there's no justice in who ends up in which group. The road back seems longer than the road toward battle, as if defeat's geography collapses distance, while victory's geography expands it. Or maybe you're just exhausted, beyond the capacity for accurate distance perception. You see Athens in the distance finally, the city walls golden in afternoon light. Home. You'll be there soon. You'll see Chloe soon. You'll sleep in your own bed tonight, assuming you can sleep, assuming your mind allows you to rest after what you've experienced. You reach the city gates as the sun touches the western horizon. Citizens have gathered to witness the army's return, as they always do after scheduled battles. They cheer, which seems absurd given the state of your group, but you understand it's ritual. They must cheer the victorious army. You must accept the cheers despite feeling nothing remotely victorious. Women search the ranks for husbands, sons, fathers. You see Chloe in the crowd, her face anxious until she spots you,
then transforming with relief. You break from the formation and walk toward her, and she runs to meet you. The embrace is fierce, desperate, her face pressed against your filthy chiton, not caring about the blood and sweat. She's trembling, or you're trembling, or both of you are trembling together. "I'm home," you manage to say, and she nods against your chest. Behind you, other reunions happen, joyful and tearful. Behind you also, women learn their men won't be coming home, their searching faces finding only sympathetic looks from surviving warriors. This is the true cost of scheduled warfare. Not the combat itself, but these moments afterward when absence becomes permanent. The strategos will conduct official ceremonies tomorrow. Victory dedications at temples, honors for the dead, distribution of battle shares. Tonight, though, belongs to simply being alive. You and Chloe walk home through familiar streets that seem strange after the battlefield. Everything seems strange. The normalcy of city life feels alien compared to the bronze-pressed violence you experienced just hours ago. How do these people not know? How do they just continue existing normally?
Your stone dwelling feels almost unrecognizable, as if you've been gone months instead of a single day. Chloe draws water from the household cistern and heats it over the fire. She helps you wash, gently cleaning the blood and grime from your skin. Some of it is so dried and caked on that it requires serious scrubbing. Neither of you speaks much. What would you say? She was here, safe. You were there, fighting. The experiences are so different that words can't bridge them. Under the blood and dirt, she discovers bruises you didn't know you had. Purple and black marks cover your ribs, your shoulders, your back. The pressure of the othismos, she concludes correctly. Being crushed between bronze and flesh for hours leaves signatures. She also finds the long scrape across your side, where the spear nearly killed you, the one deflected by your cuirass. The skin is barely broken, just abraded, but it could have been so much worse. 1 inch. She traces it with her finger, her hand shaking, understanding how close she came to being among the women who lost their men today. You eat sparingly, bread, olives, watered wine. Your stomach can't handle much more. Combat does strange things to digestion. The body shuts down non-essential functions during violence, and it takes hours or days for everything to restart properly. As darkness falls completely, you lie on your sleeping mat, Chloe beside you. You're exhausted beyond measure, but sleep doesn't come. Your mind replays moments from the battle involuntarily. The crash of collision, the smell of blood, Philippos's dead eyes, your spear punching into someone's flesh. You finally fall asleep near dawn, only to wake hours later drenched in sweat, heart racing, convinced you're still in the phalanx, still feeling bronze pressing against you from all sides. It takes several seconds to remember where you are. Home, safe, alive. This happens to warriors after scheduled battles. Everyone knows about the dreams, the waking fears, the phantom sounds of combat. It passes, usually, given time and distance from the battle. The next day is dedicated to formal ceremonies. You attend, still moving stiffly, joining other survivors at the Temple of Athena. The strategos makes speeches about honor and courage and the glory of Athens.
The priests perform more sacrifices and read more favorable omens. The families of the dead receive official sympathy and small compensations. Philippos's widow is there, her face empty. You try to speak to her, but can't find words that don't sound hollow. What can you possibly say? He died bravely? That's what everyone says, whether it's true or not. He served Athens well. Does that really comfort her as she faces life without a husband? You end up just placing your hand on her shoulder briefly. A gesture of shared grief that communicates more than words could. The ceremonies continue for hours. Your legs ache from standing. Your bruises throb. You want to be home, want to be away from other warriors and shared remembering. But you stand through it all because tradition demands it, because scheduled warfare requires scheduled mourning, just as it requires scheduled combat.
Life gradually returns to normal, or what passes for normal. You resume daily routines, training in the gymnasium, attending the agora for civic duties, helping maintain your family's small olive grove outside the city. But scheduled warfare has left its mark. You find yourself counting days obsessively, calculating when the next new moon falls, when the 6th day after that new moon arrives, the next scheduled battle. It's always coming, always approaching like an inevitable tide. In 3 months, the cycle repeats. Another dawn, another march, another collision of bronze and flesh. This is your life now, and will be until you're too old to fight, or until you don't survive one of these scheduled engagements. Most warriors retire around age 45, assuming they live that long. You're 32. 13 more years statistically. At 4 battles per year, that's roughly 52 more scheduled battles before you can honorably retire. 52 more chances to die by appointment. The numbers are sobering. You talk about this with Alexandros one evening, over wine. He laughs, though without humour. Don't think about it, he advises, holding up his hand with 2 missing fingers. Each battle is just one battle. Survive today. Worry about tomorrow when it comes. It's practical advice, though nearly impossible to follow. How do you not think about scheduled death? How do you not calculate your odds of surviving another year, another decade? But you try. You focus on the present, on Chloe, on ordinary life between the scheduled violences. You plant olive trees that will bear fruit long after you're dead, one way or another. You find small comforts in predictability. 3 months pass. Training continues. Life continues. And then the announcement comes. Another scheduled battle. This time against Corinth. Same system, same rules, different opponent. The date is set for the 6th day after the next new moon. You have 2 weeks to prepare mentally. 2 weeks to exist in that liminal space between knowing violence is coming and experiencing it. You've been here before, obviously. 13 times before. But it never gets easier. If anything, knowing what's coming makes it worse. The first battle, years ago, you approached with almost naive courage. Now you approach with educated fear. You know exactly how much it will hurt, how exhausting it will be, how close to death you'll come, how some men standing beside you now won't be standing afterward. Chloe sees the change in you as the date approaches. You become quieter, more distant, already partially withdrawing to that internal space where combat happens. She's learned not to try to pull you back. She just stays present, steady, an anchor point of normalcy. The night before the battle, you can't sleep at all. You lie beside her, listening to her breathing, memorizing the sound. Just in case. Just in case this is the last time. The scheduled battle that finally catches you. The one where you're not 1 inch to the right or left, but exactly where the spear point lands. You think about Philippos, whose last morning was like this, who lay beside his wife just like this, who had no way of knowing that in 18 hours he'd be dead on a predetermined battlefield. Maybe he suspected. Maybe they all suspect. Maybe that's the real horror of scheduled warfare. Death by appointment means you die twice, once in anticipation and once in actuality. Dawn comes too quickly and too slowly. The ritual repeats. Oil on skin, bronze on body, spear in hand, march to assembly, prayers and sacrifice, formation, advance. You're back in the phalanx, back in the third rank, back in the world of bronze and pressure and violence. The Corinthians wait across the battlefield, looking identical to every other phalanx you've faced. The horn sounds, the advance begins. Left foot, right foot. The collision comes, the orthismos begins. Push, thrust, breathe. Again, always again. But something is different this time. Maybe it's the cumulative weight of 14 battles. Maybe it's the sleepless night. Maybe it's just bad luck. Whatever the cause, you find yourself struggling more than usual. Your shield arm weakens faster. Your legs shake earlier. You're not 14 battles young anymore. You're 14 battles old. There's a difference. The man in front of you goes down suddenly, a Corinthian spear taking him in the throat. He falls with a horrible sound. And suddenly you're in the second rank, no longer protected by 2 rows of shields. You're more exposed now, more vulnerable. Spear points flash toward your face, and you duck and weave, shield up, trying to protect yourself and the man beside you simultaneously. The pressure intensifies. The Corinthians push harder, sensing weakness in your section. You're being driven backward, step by step. The entire formation is buckling slightly here. If it breaks completely, the battle is lost. Men pour into gaps. Organized warfare becomes chaotic slaughter. You don't know how long you fight in the second rank. Time disappears into pure survival instinct. Block, thrust, push, block, thrust, push. Your shield arm is beyond pain now, operating on something else entirely. Maybe muscle memory, maybe desperation, maybe the collective will of the phalanx itself. Then everything changes in an instant. A Corinthian spear comes at you from an angle you don't see. It slips past your shield, under your guard, and punches into your left side just below your cuirass. You feel it enter, sharp, burning, intrusive, and then the point pulls free, taking pieces of you with it. You're wounded. Not fatally, you don't think, but definitely wounded. Blood runs hot down your side, soaking your chiton. The pain is extraordinary, worse than anything you've experienced in 13 previous battles. You want to fall, want to collapse, want to stop fighting and examine the wound and assess the damage, but you can't. If you fall here, the formation collapses. If the formation collapses, men die. So you stay standing through sheer willpower, shield still up, spear still thrusting, blood still flowing. The man behind you realizes you're wounded. He can see the blood and pushes harder against your back, helping hold you upright, taking some of your weight. This is the phalanx at its best. Individuals supporting each other, literally holding each other up. You fight on, growing weaker, vision starting to narrow, but still fighting. Because stopping means dying, and you're not ready to die in this scheduled battle. The horn sounds, the first break. You've survived to the scheduled rest period. The phalanx disengages, and you immediately collapse, shield falling from nerveless fingers, spear clattering on the ground. Other warriors catch you before you hit the dirt, lower you carefully.
Someone removes your helmet, and the world expands again, though your vision is still swimming. "Surgeon!" someone shouts. "We need a surgeon here." The army surgeon arrives quickly, an older man who's seen hundreds of wounds from scheduled battles. He examines your side with practiced hands, probing the injury in ways that make you scream. "Through the muscle, missed the organs," he announces. "You're lucky. Very lucky. Lucky. You've been impaled by a bronze spear and you're lucky." But you understand what he means. 1 inch different and the spear would have penetrated your abdomen, rupturing intestines, causing the kind of infection that kills slowly over days. As it is, you have a deep muscle wound that will heal if it doesn't become infected. If. That's always the critical word with combat wounds. He packs the wound with cloth soaked in wine and vinegar, binding it tightly with strips of linen. The pain of the treatment rivals the pain of the original injury. You grip another warrior's arm so hard, you probably leave bruises. "Can you continue?" the surgeon asks. It's not really a question. It's a test. Can you? Should you? Must you? The battle isn't over. The second engagement is scheduled to begin in less than an hour. The phalanx needs every man who can still fight. You refuse to stay down. Against the surgeon's advice, against common sense, against your body's desperate signals that you need rest, you insist on returning to the formation. Part of it is duty, part is pride. Part is the knowledge that every empty space in the phalanx weakens the entire unit. Mostly, though, it's the belief that if you lie down now, you'll never get back up. Staying in the fight is the only way through the fight. They help you stand, help you put your cuirass back on over the bandaged wound, help you lift your shield. Everything hurts. Moving hurts. Breathing hurts. Existing hurts. But you're upright. You're armed. You're ready. Or as ready as a wounded man can be, for the second engagement. Other warriors look at you with a mixture of respect and concern. Some think you're brave. Some think you're insane. Both assessments are probably correct. The horn sounds. 15 minutes until the second engagement. You position yourself in the third rank again. Someone else has taken the place of the man who fell in the first rank. The phalanx has adjusted, filled gaps, redistributed strength. That's what scheduled warfare allows. Time to reorganize between engagements. In chaotic warfare, one break in the formation can lead to immediate catastrophic collapse. Here you get an hour to patch wounds and reform ranks. You wonder if this makes scheduled warfare more or less humane than regular warfare. On one hand, more men survive because of breaks and rules. On the other hand, more men continue fighting when they should stop, prolonging suffering in the name of honor and duty. The second engagement begins. The formations collide. The orthismos resumes, and you're still fighting despite everything. Your wound limits you severely. You can't push as hard, can't thrust as effectively, can barely maintain your shield position. But you're here, you're present, you're part of the formation. The man behind you compensates for your weakness, pushing harder to make up for your reduced force. The man beside you angles his shield to cover you more completely. The phalanx adapts, adjusts, continues functioning. This is what scheduled warfare requires: collective action, mutual support, individual sacrifice for group survival. You fight for what feels like hours but might only be minutes. Time has no meaning when every second brings fresh pain. Your wound bleeds continuously despite the bandages. You feel blood squelching in your greave, warm and wet and wrong. Your vision starts to blur. Whether from blood loss or exhaustion or pain, you can't tell. Maybe all three. The world narrows to simple imperatives. Stay standing. Keep shield up. Don't fall. Everything else is negotiable. Glory, honor, victory, all meaningless abstractions. Survival is the only concrete thing. Then, finally, the pressure lessens. The enemy is breaking, retreating, conceding the field. The Corinthians have decided they've fought honourably enough. The day belongs to Athens. The horn sounds victory and your legs simply give out. You don't even feel yourself falling. Just suddenly the sky is above you, and the ground is beneath you, and everything is distant and strange.
You wake up on a cart, jolting along the road back to Athens. Every bump sends fresh agony through your wound. The surgeon is there, checking your bandages, feeling your pulse. "You lost too much blood," he says matter-of-factly. "I'm surprised you stayed conscious as long as you did. Surprised you fought in the second engagement at all." He sounds disapproving and impressed in equal measure. You try to speak, but your mouth is too dry. Someone holds a water skin to your lips, and you drink desperately. The water is warm and tastes of leather, but it's the most beautiful thing you've ever experienced. "Will I live?" you manage to ask, your voice barely a whisper. The surgeon shrugs. "Probably. The wound itself isn't fatal if it doesn't become infected. But the blood loss..." He trails off, leaving the implication hanging. You might survive the injury, only to die from weakness and blood loss complications. It happens. You look around at the other wounded in the cart. There are 5 others, all in various states of injury. One is unconscious, his breathing shallow. Another is whimpering constantly, a broken spear shaft still protruding from his thigh. They'll remove it properly in Athens. A third has lost an eye, the socket covered with blood-soaked cloth. Scheduled warfare with rules, breaks, and civilized conduct. But bodies still break, blood still flows, men still suffer. The cart continues its lurching progress toward the city. The next week passes in a fever dream. Your wound becomes infected despite the surgeon's best efforts. Your body temperature spikes, and you drift in and out of consciousness. Chloe is there constantly, applying fresh bandages, dripping water into your mouth, placing cool cloths on your burning forehead. The surgeon visits daily, cleaning the wound, applying different herbs and poultices, trying to fight the infection through ancient medical knowledge that is equal parts effective practice and hopeful guess. You have nightmares when you sleep and hallucinations when you wake. The phalanx pushes against you constantly, bronze pressing from all sides, spear points flashing toward your face, the smell of blood and metal overwhelming. You thrash in your fever, fighting invisible enemies, and Chloe has to hold you down to prevent you from reopening the wound. On the 5th day, the fever breaks. You wake clear-headed for the first time since the battle. Weak, yes. In pain, absolutely. But conscious and present. The infection is receding. Your body has fought off the worst of it. "You're going to survive," the surgeon announces with satisfaction. "Though you won't be fighting in the next scheduled battle. Probably not the one after that either. This wound needs months to heal properly." Months. You feel relieved and guilty simultaneously. Relieved to avoid the next battle. Guilty for feeling relief. A warrior shouldn't want to miss scheduled combat. But you're too tired to sustain guilt. You just lie there, grateful to be alive. Grateful for Chloe's constant presence. Grateful for ordinary pain instead of fever dream chaos. Recovery is slow, frustrating, and humbling. You who could march for hours in bronze armor, now struggle to walk across your dwelling without resting. You who could hold a shield for hours, now can barely lift a water jug. Your body, pushed beyond its limits by combat and blood loss and infection, demands time to heal. You have no choice but to give it that time. Weeks pass. The wound gradually closes. The infection finally defeated completely. Pink new skin forms over the injury, tender and sensitive, but whole. You begin gentle exercises, slowly rebuilding strength. Walking first, just around the house, then around the block. Eventually longer distances,
You avoid the gymnasium, unwilling to face other warriors while you're this weak. Your identity has always been tied to your physical capability, and recovering from near death has stripped you of that capability, temporarily. It's disorienting and depressing. The next scheduled battle comes and goes without you. You hear about it from others. Athens fought Megara. Standard engagement. Athens won. Moderate casualties. Alexandros survived, as did most of your unit. 4 men from your company died, including the man who stood behind you in the phalanx, the one who helped hold you up when you were wounded. He's dead and you're alive. And there's no justice or logic to it. Just chance, just the random mathematics of spear points and shield positions. You light incense at your household shrine, saying prayers for his shade. It's inadequate, but it's all you can do.
3 months after your injury, you're cleared to return to training. The surgeon examines your scar, tests your range of motion, and nods approval. The wound has healed well. The muscle has regrown. You can resume martial training, but gradually. You return to the gymnasium with mixed feelings. Relief to be capable again. Anxiety about whether you truly are capable. Fear about the next scheduled battle that will inevitably come. The other warriors greet you warmly, congratulating you on surviving such a serious wound. You train carefully at first, learning your body's new limitations and capabilities. The scar pulls sometimes, creating uncomfortable sensations but not real pain. You have slightly less flexibility on your left side, slightly less strength in those muscles. But overall, you're functional. You can fight again. Whether you want to fight again is a question you avoid asking yourself. A month later, the announcement comes. Another scheduled battle. Athens versus Thebes again. The cycle continues, as it always does. Same system, same rules, same bizarre, organized violence. You are scheduled to return to the phalanx for this engagement, taking your place in the 3rd rank as if nothing had changed. Except, everything has changed. You felt bronze inside your body, felt your life leaking out between bronze armor plates. You've survived what many don't survive, and now you're expected to risk it all again in 3 weeks, because that's the schedule, because that's civilization, because that's how things are done. The night before the 15th scheduled battle, you lie beside Chloe again, unable to sleep again, counting breaths again. Everything is the same as it's always been. The ritual repeats. Dawn preparation, armor donning, prayer and sacrifice, march and formation, collision and combat. The system continues. Scheduled warfare proceeds according to its established patterns. Civilized and bizarre, organized and brutal. You are part of it, whether you want to be or not. This is your life. This is what society requires. You survive each battle to reach the next battle, and you'll continue this cycle until you don't survive, or until you reach the age where honorable retirement is permitted. 45 years old, 13 more years, approximately 52 more scheduled battles. You count them in the darkness, these future collisions of bronze and flesh, these scheduled appointments with potential death. The numbers seem impossible and inevitable in equal measure. Chloe sleeps beside you, her breathing steady. She's become accustomed to this life too, to scheduled violence and periodic fear. Everyone has. The entire city-state system of scheduled warfare, with its rules and breaks and civilized conduct, has normalized something fundamentally abnormal. You've made violence predictable, and somehow that feels more disturbing than if violence were chaotic and unpredictable. At least chaos is honest. This organized dying feels like a collective lie. Everyone agrees to believe. Dawn approaches. The sun will rise. The battle will happen. You'll march and fight and push, and maybe die, or maybe survive for the next schedule. The bizarre ancient tradition continues, and you continue with it, because what choice do you have? You're a warrior in a world where wars are scheduled, so you fight.
until you can't.